I have a question by Beth. Beth is asking, what was so bad that I did that I was held by this black angel? So first of all, there are a few other videos kind of explaining the whole concept of the black angel. To be more precise, the black thing was the angel of death. I explained in a different video that when a person does God's will, when a person does a mitzvah, it's called in Hebrew. Mitzvah comes from the word tzavta. Tzavta means to connect, to put together. When a person does a mitzvah is also a commandment. So when a person does a mitzvah, he connects himself with godliness, with God, meaning that nothing else can touch him but God. But when a person does a sin in Hebrew is called avera, aveira. Avera comes from the word over, moving to. So when a person does the opposite of God's will, he moves himself away from the possession, from the domain of God, and he moves himself to the other side, what is called, in a professional term, sitra achra. It's the language of the Zohar, sitra achra, the other side. The Zohar doesn't want to go into definition, what's the other side. It just says it's the other side of holiness. So when a person does a sin, avera in Hebrew, in Lashon Kodesh, he basically moves himself away from godliness to the other side. God is compared in many different sources like Kabbalah and Hasidut to light. God is light. So what would be the other side of God? Darkness, which is very well obvious, like that you see that anything that has to do with godliness refers to light, and everything that has to do with the opposite of godliness is dark. So first of all, my own doing, you asked what was so bad that I did. I did some pretty bad things that I was shown to. One of them, I didn't do kibud av v'em, respecting my parents. I didn't do that, which is a very big sin. It's actually in one of the 10 commandments. I was a very not nice person. I used to make fun of people in public. I would embarrass people in public, which is called halbanat pnei chaver, making somebody embarrassed in public, which is considered a very big sin. I didn't deal good in business. I wasn't honest and straight in business. And it's known from the Talmud that the second question that the soul is being asked in the Beis Din, in the court, the heavenly court, is did he deal in business honestly? I didn't deal in business honestly. I was pretty corrupt. I did a few more other sins that were pretty bad. They're considered in Shamayim very bad. So in my own doing, it was considered very bad. Now there's a whole concept in the Torah, if it's done by mistake or if it's done deliberately, beshoigeg or bemezid. If it's done beshoigeg, meaning by mistake, I didn't know, I did by mistake, then you're not held accounted so much for the sin. There's a whole concept of people who were born not religious. They're in a category of like a baby that was born to a family who was not religious, and he grew up not religious. It's called tinok shenishba, and it's not his fault. That's what he was brought up to. So he's not accounted for his sins so much, or even at all. And according to halacha, to the Torah, when one does a sin by mistake, a person, broke Shabbos by mistake. He didn't know you're not allowed to do a certain thing. So when it's by mistake, he's a little bit guilty, but he doesn't get punished so severely for that. But when a person does something deliberately, then he's found accountable for that 100%. And in some sins, according to the Torah, the punishment is like a severe punishment. So, right, a lot of the things that I did by mistake, because I wasn't educated in all the laws. But unfortunately, for me, a lot of the sins, I knew this is bad. I was told. The fact that I didn't want to accept it, or the fact that I didn't believe, or the fact that I chose to ignore it, that's my own problem. So I was found accountable for that. There are certain sins that I knew are considered a sin, and I still did it. So that's considered that I did it on purpose, but deliberately. And in my case, that was looked extremely in a bad way. So if a person was born in Greenland to a family and never taught anything about Judaism, he's not going to be accountable for his sins, because it's not really sins. He didn't know. It's like a tinok shenishba, like a baby. I grew up in Israel. I learned all about Judaism and Torah in school, in public school. In Israel, in public school, you learn about everything. I celebrated all the holidays. I did my bar mitzvah. I couldn't say I didn't know. Even throughout my life, I met here and there people who tried to introduce God to me, who tried to introduce religion to me, who told me, you're not allowed to do that. In the eyes of God, this is a sin, etc., etc. So, in my case, I can't say in other people's cases, but in my case, I did a lot of those sins and the bad ones deliberately. And knowing that it's considered a sin, but I just didn't care, and I chose to ignore it. Therefore, I was found accounted for that. So, to kind of put it in a perspective, first of all, everything that I'm saying in my testimony, it's my testimony. Could be completely different to other people. From other people that I heard their testimony, it was pretty similar. Now, to kind of explain this whole concept, is exactly what I said before, is that when a person connects himself to godliness, he's connected to the light. When a person disconnects himself from God, then he's basically putting himself in the domain of the other side, which is compared to darkness. So I hope I answered your question, even though it's a very deep concept and can be dissected to another few hours of teaching. But to sum it up, this was how severe my personal sins were.